I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. We are here to change this world one woman at a time, changing our neighborhoods, our communities, our families, one woman at a time, because this is our time of emerging. This is our time on the planet to bring our gifts and our power. So I get to introduce you to amazing women that inspire me. And they get to tell their stories to remind you that they're not exceptions, they are examples. So let me introduce my gift to guest today. Marla Wynne Ginsburg. In 2008, she landed on, this is from her bio, by the way, she landed on her ample derriere, losing her job, her home, and almost her sanity. In 2009, she taught herself how to sew. What started out looking like poorly cast episode of Project Runway has evolved into a multi-million-dollar apparel brand. Marla has designed her way into the hearts and onto the backs of women around the world with her story of reinvention as a midlife entrepreneur, sharing what she calls her icky bits and the lumps and bumps along the way to becoming one of TV shopping's fastest rising stars and the CEO of Marla Wynne. Marla, welcome.
Well, thank you, darling. You have this like velvet voice when you do that. It's like I want that voice. Can I have that voice? I heard myself the first time I heard myself on TV, I realized my voice and my persona do not match. I think I have like this little girl voice, and that's just so not who I am. And I listen to your voice and I just want to be you, but go on. Carry on.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I'm excited to be here with you because I think your story is incredible. So I would like you to start because you used to be a television executive, right?
I was a TV executive and producer. I was one of the youngest women ever admitted to the DGA when I was but a child in another century. But yeah, I haven't had 9 lives, but I've had several.
Okay, so what was one of the executive jobs what you lost and taught yourself to sew?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had been in TV almost all my life. I started in advertising and then segued to television. And I had spent 20 years living and working in Paris. And in 2008, 2007, end of 2007, there was a writer's strike in LA. And that was like, okay, this is not good. I knew that wasn't good. And I also knew I was 50 in an industry that eats its young, let alone its menopausal. So I knew that after this writer's strike, the chances of me getting a job in Hollywood were about as likely as finding a natural blonde in Beverly Hills. So I was nervous. I was nervous and I was scared and I wasn't sure what to do. And because I had left Paris about 2 years before that. And suddenly there's this writer's strike. And so, the job, everybody was force majeure. The city closed down, a lot like COVID. And I just knew that this was not going to be good. I also knew I had time on my hands. And whenever I have time on my hands, there have been 3 distinct times in my life when I had inordinate time on my hands and a burden on my back. One was that period in 2008. One was when my son had cancer at the age of 18. And the third was now. And all of those 3 times of life where life threw me a curveball that I couldn't really control and I didn't even know how to catch it. I had to kind of reinvent myself. And all 3 times, I will tell you that out of the darkest depths of those moments came incredible opportunity. It didn't come without tears, a considerable amount of vodka, and a lot of worry and stress. But that old saying, one door closes and another opens. It actually is true. It doesn't mean the path is pleasant, but it's true. And so, yes, in 2008, a lot of things converged, and I found myself in the middle of what I like to call a financial tsunami. The studios shut down and force majeured everyone. There was nothing to do. There was a writer's strike. There was the 2008 economic mess. And LA real estate, my house, my beautiful house, slid down the mountain it was built on in terms of its value. Because all of a sudden, 2, 3, $4 million homes in LA were worth nothing because no one could buy them. They were either unemployed, not work. I mean, it was a disaster. It was the perfect financial storm. And I got caught in it. So yeah, and then I thought, okay, well, this is bad. What what are you going to do? I had 2 kids who annoyingly wanted to eat, and you
Wait,
why
so
I went and bought a sewing machine and thought I could actually build a business. I mean, in retrospect, the arrogance to think I could do such a thing, the complete ignorance, because if I had known how hard this is and what a shark infested waters I was diving into, I'm not sure I would have had the courage. So ignorance is bliss. And yeah, it was that point in time, financial meltdown, my house worth nothing, no work, and oh, by the way, hot flashes at the yin yang in the middle of the summer in the valley. I mean, I thought I was going to die. But all of that gave rise to 10 years later a very different and good life.
well, I love this because they say a lot of times people go through dark nights of the soul before the light emerges and something incredible happens. And I love that you've told this part of the story because I want you ladies to know that sometimes, oftentimes, what you think is bad news is the opening of an extraordinary new way of being. So I want to ask you, okay, so you bought this sewing machine, and what was the idea of having this sewing machine?
Okay, well, there were several things I had always wanted to be. Originally I wanted to be an actress, but apparently I was not pretty enough. I was told by Gregory Mosher, who God love him, because had he not said this, I'd still probably be at Second City, serving drinks. But he said to my agent, you know what? She's too exotic looking to be the girl next door, and she's not pretty enough to be an ingenue. Has she ever thought of going behind the camera? And that is what started my right. So that was like bad news number one. But there's something I want to circle back to for a minute, which is, you know, as you listen to what I have to share today, I think one of the key pivot points or the key things to keep in mind is if I can do this, anybody can do this, but there is a big but. You actually have to get off your tushy and do it. And it's hard and it's painful. And there's no magic, oh, God looks down on you and makes it all nice. That is not what happens. He lets you keep breathing. And what you do with that oxygen, what you do with your time, you can try and throw a pity party. No one wants to come. Everybody will be like, oh, it's so sad. Look what happened. You boo-hoo. And then they're like,
They're gone.
Figure it out. Don't call me. And so you really have to have the will. You have to have the will. And then you find the way. But the way is you get up every single morning and you do something to advance it. So, it can be an uplifting story, but it can be a deceptive story because it's really easy to talk about, oh, she lost everything and oh, now look. In between was not always fun.
So were you always a fashion person? I mean, did you always love to get dressed and dress
I
up?
always loved fashion. When I lived in Paris, my husband was doing the taxes for some of the top international fashion executives. So I got to go to the Dior fashion show. I got to go to all the big fashion shows, and I got to sit in the best seats. And it was and I'd go to these fashion shows, by the way, where I'd see people wearing the most unwearable clothes in the world. And I thought, well, this was a fun show, but how is this a business? Like, these clothes are not women with cakes on their heads. Like, what? It made no sense to me. And so I had asked Sydney Toledano, who was a friend then. I did not have a vision at all of going into fashion at that time. And I asked him, can you explain this to me? Because it makes no sense to me, these fashion shows. I like, well, how much do you spend on these? And it's millions of dollars. And he said, well, come over to Dior and I'm going to show you. So we started way at the top. John Galliano was there and he showed me through the floors of Dior on the Avenue Montaigne. And we finally got to the licensing division and he goes, all those dresses, these fashion shows, the high-end clothing that you'd have to sell a kidney for to afford. We do all that so we can sell lipstick, shoes, and bags. It's marketing. It's brilliant marketing because there's only a couple handful of women in the world who can afford what you see on a runway. I mean, a single dress can be $150,000 because it's hand beat and it's gorgeous, but yeah, you try and wear that during COVID. And so, but I did love fashion. I did love fashion. And the other dream I had was to become a talk show host. So actually, in a weird, odd way, by being on HSN and QVC, I get to be both. But what propelled me to buy the sewing machine was every time I'd go into the dry cleaners, I'd see this little man at a sewing machine, like sewing things and fixing things. And it occurred to me, like, I could probably do that. How hard is this? I had no idea how hard this was. But I went out and bought the wrong kind of sewing machine. I bought a serger, which is sort of like saying I want to learn to play the guitar and you pick up a 12 string, not where you start. So it took me months to learn just to thread the darn thing. But I basically Googled my entire fashion career, to be honest with you. So yes, I was intrigued by fashion. I always loved fashion. I knew how to buy fashion, but I didn't know how to make it. And during that period in late 2017, early 18, I taught myself to sketch, to make patterns, to cut fabric, to thread my 12-string guitar. And by the time the writer's strike was over, I had sold my first collection to Nordstrom's and then a slightly different one to HSN. And I never looked back.
Well, that it's incredible. But what I love about this is first what you said about, you have to do something for it every day and not give up. But the other thing is that you kept the vision. I mean, the vision was there, even though you were having to Google stuff and learn how to do, the stuff.
True story.
So, and I love that because I think we've all done that. And a lot of times people have visions, but they don't move. They have the vision and they think about it and think about it and think about it. And then they get scared and they don't do anything.
You know that expression, Cynthia, ideas are a dime a dozen?
Mm-hmm.
Ideas are nothing. They're nothing. Everybody has great ideas. We all invented Velcro. Ideas are easy. Making an idea a reality, that is the longest distance I have ever traversed.
So I want to ask you, what do you think has been the greatest challenge for you to stay the course? Because clearly you got tenacity. Clearly you got focus. What's been the biggest challenge?
I love what I do so much. I guess the biggest challenge, they've changed. The challenges have shifted. In the beginning, the biggest challenge was to ignore conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom said, you know nothing about this. What are you crazy? Yeah, I'm quite sure I was slightly mad, but you have to believe in the message that your heart and mind is giving you. And you have to kind of have this arrogance to believe you can do something. And then you just do it. But people along the way will question you. They will think you're out of your mind. They'll go, oh, that's so pretty what you made. And then you leave the house and go, oh my God, she's lost her mind. Like I could see it on people. Like, what is she thinking? So the first obstacle, the most difficult thing was to overcome naysayers. So what you have to do when you're doing this is just not hang with them. You just cannot afford to have negativity in your life when you're reinventing it. Listen to what people say, invite them to give you constructive criticism, take what feels right to you, and then just put the rest down the garbage disposal because it's not productive. So that was in the startup phase. The next phase was finding financing. Women-led businesses do not get money thrown at them. I've tried to monetize my business and bring in more investment. And, our business will do 50 to 60 million at retail this year. And I see these startups, they've never made a shirt, and they get, $100 million and blah, blah, blah. And you think like, wow, okay, there is ageism and there is sexism. It's getting better because there's more and more female founders and more female investors. So financing the business was very tough. That was a huge obstacle during a growth period. Now, I would say the obstacle is that there really are only 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I need more than that. So then there becomes this balance of how much to invest and how much to keep in the company, how much to invest in the company. And don't forget, when I started this company, I had earned millions and I lost it all in a very short period of time. So at the age of 52, I was starting with 2 kids who were still, like 12 and 14 and had nothing. I mean, I rented out a room in my house to a boarder. I needed the money. It was scary. And I learned how to make meatloaf on Monday that turned into, marinara by Friday. I kid you not. And then you reach a point where your business is at a certain size and you have another set of decisions. How much do I want to put away to retire on to make up for that lost nest egg? How much do I want to reinvest in my business? And those are so those are very tough decisions. I would say scaling the business becomes a very tough thing. That great Chinese restaurant that was around the corner and then they decided to like expand and redecorate, and the next thing you know, they're out of business. If you scale too rapidly without thought and just your ambition, I could end up right back on my ample derriere. So I guess it was 3 stages of real obstacles. And listen, fatigue. I'm tired. It's tiring running a business.
Well, yes. And you had to call in the right people. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, you got a team now that you trust, that supports you. And so, I mean, I think that that's part of it too. It's like making the right decisions, but surrounding yourself with the right people that can help you take care of yourself and take care of the business.
True. I mean, both. I mean, my son says to me, "Oh, it's easy for you because you hire people to do things for you." And I'm like, yes, I hire people to do things that I don't need to do, that other people can do, so that what only I can do, I do. And then you have to really build in your own obsolescence to have a healthy business, which means training people to become you, because like this whole thing, it's got a shelf life and we don't know what it is. So I want to make sure that we have a legacy plan, in the business, because I'm a realist. I have a really small team on my payroll, but I work with several different companies who manufacture for me. So there's probably 150 people in my world, of which, 4 or 5 are on my payroll. But they each manage different divisions, and one of them, poor fellow, has to manage me, and that is the toughest job in the business. It really is. I mean, I would not want that job at all. He gets tired of me. I get tired of me. I spent March, April, May, June, July. I spent 4.5 months in New York, in my apartment in New York, by myself. And I'm telling you, I got so sick of me. It was like, so I feel sorry for my assistant, but he's great.
But he's wonderful and he's efficient, and I love it. So before I ask you the last question, I want to tell people how to find you. I mean, I got the gift of walking through your closet. And so
but I got to get you back over here and into my clothes.
Yes, that would be good. So how do people find you?
Well, I have a small accessories, because I do everything. I do accessories, jewelry, handbags, scarves, coats, blah, 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 blah. So the full range here in the United States is available on hsn.com. I do know I did a capsule collection for Chico's, and there's some great pieces on sale on Chico's. So you can go to chicos.com and look up Marla Wynne for Chico's. And then I have a small collection of my jewelry and bags at marlawynne.com. So you can see those things there. And I'm happy to show you, if you'd like to see a little overview, I can show you a little I can show you some of the pieces, but yeah, HSN's the best place. And I will tell you, if you're somebody who's thought, ugh, I don't want to shop at HSN, that's like, ooh, guess what? Our pieces have been private labeled to Neiman Marcus. The wonderful thing about HSN, and everything I wear, I make now. And the wonderful thing about HSN and QVC is that I'm in so many countries. We're in the US, we're in Canada, we're in England, we're in Australia, we're in Japan, and we're in Italy. And so I can do a huge volume, which means that a sweater that Neiman's would charge $400 for, I can charge $80 for. That's how crazy it is.
Well, I love that. Ladies, I hope you're listening. HSN, Marla Wynne, do not miss it, right? So the last question I ask everybody is, what is it that this show is called Women Awakening. What is it that you want women to know about their awakening?
Well, do it every morning. And, you know, there's a thing in life called collateral beauty. Collateral beauty, as an example, would be when my son got cancer at the age of 18. That is a call no mother wants to get, right? So he was going to school in Amsterdam at the time, and I went to live with him and to see him through his chemo. We wanted him to be with friends. We didn't want to bring him back to the States at the time. And actually, it was before Obamacare, so before the ACH, we couldn't have even gotten him back into the US at the time. So I went to Holland to be with him, and it was a horrible time and it was a wonderful time. Collateral beauty is the good things that come out of the bad things. It awakens you. It teaches you your priorities. It makes you dig deep. The tough times in life, and we are all right now going through a tough time. People are losing jobs. People are sick. Our country is divided. I don't care. Well, I do care which side of the issue you're on, but we won't go into that. Regardless of which side you're on, we need to come back together, right? Through this terribly difficult time, there is and can be an awakening, and that is the collateral beauty. It is digging deep, how to take advantage of this time we have, these close-knit circles of people that we live with, that we feel safe with. It's a time to dig down into yourself and learn, what do I want for the rest of my life? What should the rest of my life look like? And I really believe the secret comes from a place of gratefulness. You know, every morning that I wake up and I don't have cancer, and my parents are alive, and my son is healthy, and my friends are okay, if I'm not grateful, then I'm a fool. So if you start each day with gratefulness, and that gives you also a sense of purpose, right? What can I give? What can I create? What can I do? It awakens things in you you didn't know you had. It awakens skills you didn't know you could develop. So I would say, first of all, wake up. When you do wake up, feel grateful that you did. And then dig deep. Listen to yourself. Listen to your heart. Listen to your mind. It'll help you find your way to your soul.
That's beautiful. Well, Marla, you inspire me. You make me laugh. I adore your brilliance, and I really am grateful that you've been here with me. And ladies, I hope you've been listening to all this wisdom that's been flowing from her.
I don't know if it's wisdom or not, honey. It's just my life experience. And I will tell you one thing I have learned along the way, because I interact with all my customers. There isn't anybody that doesn't have a great story to tell. There isn't anybody, the simplest of person with the simplest of life experience and education has had experiences different from you. And if we will listen, we'll hear their wisdom. If we will listen to one another, we will once again be an America that's united. So I leave you with the thought of mindfulness, thoughtfulness, and a spirit of generosity and open ears.
Thank you, Marla. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So, ladies, this is just an example of the extraordinary women that come to Women Awakening. Come back. We post something new every single week. And I hope you're listening and taking notes and taking action, because the call here is to give you an opening, a reminder of how incredible you are, how amazing you are, and how fabulous it is that you're on the planet at this time to bring your gifts. I'll see you next time.